had an idea. So ever since I was a young, small, little child, I have always wanted to be Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. When my brother and I used to play Budokai Tenkaichi 3 in our grandparents' living room on the PS2, every time we dueled each other, I was always this guy. Always. I don't know what it was about him, he just looked really cool, and I'm like, hey, I want to be him. And then forgot about it. Until 2019, when my brother told us about a convention that was just all Dragon Ball called KamehaCon. Last time I went in 2019, I absolutely loved it, and I wanted to go again in 2020. Then the whole panorama happened. So when it came around 2021, I wanted to go again. So I bought my tickets, and as I was looking at the website for KamehaCon, one of the attractions was a cosplay contest. I won the win. Part of the requirements for this cosplay contest in particular is to provide proof that 50% of your costume has been made or altered by you. I'm also going to go ahead and preface this by saying that I am in no way a professional seamstress. I only sew because I really love cosplay and I like making a lot of things myself. I'm not a professional. I only know what my mom taught me. I live by what my queen, Jenna Marbles, once said. I don't know how to sew, I just refuse to fail. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, in making this, I had no idea where to begin. Because if you look at Gogeta in this form, you see he's got a very bare chest. And I can't do that. Because the world is run by misogynistic old white men. And I can't show any part of my body without being shamed for it. So I had to work my way around this. And I did not want to use just like a very opaque nude colored fabric. I didn't want it to look cheap or costly. And I didn't know how to do this until one day I was watching an episode of a nice little old show called RuPaul's Drag Race. And there's that one particular episode, you know, the one, season 13, that lip sync, the one where Denali absolutely obliterates Kimura. But if you watch the lip sync, you can see that Denali's costume, like her outfit, like there's a part of it that's got like a mesh thing on the neckline that makes it look like it's got a deeper cut than it actually does. So I decided to apply the same thing to this guy right over here, to this cosplay, and that's kind of where I began. And using this pattern, this flowy white lovely fabric, and this nice new pair of fabric scissors, listen to that sizz. Ooh. I went ahead and cut out my pattern and pinned it onto my fabric, so that way I can go ahead and start making my pair of pants. I'm making the pants first as a guideline to know what we're going to cut out later on in our bodysuit. Now, I never made a pair of pants before in my entire life because I could never wrap my head around the idea of making a pair of pants until my mom showed me this video of this lady doing it. And what she does, exactly what I'm doing, is taking a front and back piece and pinning both sides together, the long part, the part that goes on the outside of your leg, and also the inseam, putting those two pieces together and sewing along those lines that we just pinned onto both legs. Does that make sense? I hope I'm explaining this okay. I'm really bad at explaining things. That's kind of why I made this whole video, to show what I'm doing. I hope that makes sense. Does it? Let me know. Or don't. Either one's fine. After I sewed those two pieces together, I went ahead and put one inside out and left one right side in. I think, yeah. Taking the right side in piece, I put it inside the inside out piece. Confusing, I know. Took those two pieces together and made sure that the crotch parts on each of those pieces lined up. That way we can go ahead and pin and sew around that. That way whenever you go ahead and take out the legs, inside out, I don't know how to explain things, my brain is not working. That way whenever you take those pants inside out, you have a nice new pair. Would you look at that? Beautiful, stunning, wow. Here, after I went ahead and put an elastic on my pants and put those on top of my bodysuit, using a white crayon, I went ahead and drew where we're going to go ahead and cut out pieces of the bodysuit. I used a crayon because my pencil wasn't showing onto the fabric, but here we go. We're doing it. went ahead and cut off the arms using a seam ripper onto the bodysuit. Gonna go ahead and save those arm pieces for later whenever we make our new sleeves. After that, I went ahead and took my crayon again and drew over those lines so I can have a better idea of what I'm cutting as well. Using the scissors, I went ahead and cut, because that's what scissors do. And I went ahead and cut carefully around the chest piece because we're going to use that as a guide for our mesh piece later on so we can have a nice nude illusion. And then I went ahead and cut around the rest of the front as well. I went ahead and left the back as is because I did not want to have fur on my back and have to sweat the whole day because I live in Texas and it's real hot over here. I did not want to deal with sweating that much the whole day. Now using those arm pieces that we cut out, I don't know how to talk. Using the arm pieces we cut out, I went ahead and pinned that onto my fur fabric, which is actually just a blanket from the thrift store. And whenever I cut around this piece, I made sure to add about 1/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches or just 1/2 inch extra because this fabric, the fur, does not stretch as opposed to the stretchy fabric of the bodysuit, and you want to make sure that this fits your arms well and also have a little bit of breathing room because again it is hot in Texas and we do sweat outside a lot. I don't want to deal with that. Then here I'm just cutting a nice big strip of fabric. This is going to end up being my tail later on. This doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be one big strip. Now taking a top that I had already in my closet, I went ahead and put that on top of my fabric and just kind of cut around it. This was a crop top already, so I went ahead and just cut around it. This is going to be our new front of the bodysuit because I want to make that fur because again, he's got fur. Took that, pinned it onto the bodysuit, and sewed it together. Here I'm just cutting out my mesh. I kind of forgot to use a little front outline piece, so I lied about that earlier, I'm sorry. Went ahead and took that and pinned it onto the bodysuit and sewed it as well. Here I'm taking those new arm pieces that we cut out earlier and just sewing them on to the bodysuit. Whenever you do this part, you want to make sure that you sew the shoulder on first, because if you try to sew the sleeve together and try to sew that on top of it, it's going to be real complicated. I tried before, didn't work. And here at this point, I've been at this thing for 6 hours. I was feeling really accomplished. I thought that I was going to get it done that day. I was feeling good, feeling great, amazing. Then my machine broke. What happened with my machine was basically the timing was out of sync, so the top needle could not grab the bobbin on the bottom and create a stitch, so I couldn't sew, and I was really devastated because I spent so long on that. But it's okay because I got a new machine.
Oh, this is smooth!
And here I'm just taking a piece of black fabric that I cut off from a shirt because I like making a lot of crop tops, and sometimes I'll save the bottom parts of the shirts I cut off to make headbands and such. So here I'm just sewing that onto, actually I'm pinning it onto the sleeve. That's going to be the little part, the wristband that he has. And I'm just sewing my tail there as well, real easy, just sewing a tail. And I'm taking this wire that I bought and trying to get it to the proper length. I tried to build it up so that way it could be a stronger wire. My mom wanted me to use wire hangers, which we do not have in this house. No wire hangers ever, Miss Joan Crawford. So here I'm just taking that wire. This part took me a really long time actually, and just wrapped it around itself.
So I'm editing right now and I just realized that I didn't include the part where I made the vest, the black part right there. So I'm just going to tell y'all real quick how I did it. Basically, any pattern I had for whether it was for a jacket, a vest, or a shirt, just any like simple pattern like this. This is the front part of jacket, shirt, or vest, whatever. And I basically just cropped it so it would end like about here. And I did the same thing for the back part as well. I just went ahead and cropped that. cut out the fabric, sewed it, and made it to that base vest right there. I just realized I didn't include it in there. I'm sorry. Okay, now let's get back to wherever we left off. Then using that vest that I just made, I went ahead and took a tape measure and measured from seam to seam on the armholes. When I did this, I measured to about 24 inches. And I went ahead and used that same measurement and cut out some orange fabric for that as well. This, by far, this little orange fabric, these little orange puff things that go around the vest, was the most complicated part of this whole thing. Basically had to cut out an oval, and for some reason my brain couldn't figure out how to fold the fabric and do that. Y'all should know I'm really bad at math. Geography and geometry was a struggle for me, so this part took me a little bit longer than I like to admit, but I ended up cutting out the necessary pieces, cut those two ovals out, and I went ahead and pinned them together, sewed them, took some polyfill and went ahead and stuffed those with that, and I kind of did the same thing for the part that goes around the neck as well. After I did that, I went ahead and took all three of those pieces and hand sewed them onto the vest, because I would not dare get this onto the machine because, again, I could not wrap my brain around it. Now do you all believe me that I'm not a professional? I don't know how to do things. I just refuse to fail. I watch, I learn-ish, and I just do. So I went ahead and did that, and I basically had a finished vest, which meant that I was done with all of this. And would you look at that? A nice, beautiful, finished costume. I didn't put it in the video earlier, but the belt and the blue pieces at the bottom are made out of a remnant, so I just went ahead and cut those two pieces out. And here is just a final look at all of this. It's beauty, it's a glory. Would you look at that? There's a little bit of lint there, don't look at that. And the tail, I just went ahead and pinned that onto the body, so I didn't bother sewing it on because I was too tired and too lazy a little bit, not gonna lie. And just cut out a hole for the tail to come out of in the pants. And that is pretty much it. Don't look at the lint, don't look at the lint, don't look at the lint. Okay, bye. I also made a video detailing how I made the wig, which also took me a very long time. So if you want to go ahead and watch that, it's down in the description below, I think. And bye. I don't know how to say bye. Bye.